Welcome back, everybody, to episode 2 of the Hold Your Rank podcast with Andrew and Will, the show where we will pretty much rank anything in a 1-10 list. Today, we are going to be ranking childhood cartoons. You ready for this, Will?
I'm ready. Last
right.
week we did fast food chains, right? And I feel like I feel like you and I had very similar lists.
Yeah, this week I think it's going to be completely different.
Right, yeah. From what you were telling me, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of controversy here.
Yeah, my cartoon list is a little whack,
okay,
according to people, but we'll see.
You had this approved? Or excuse me, you
I was asking for some opinions,
okay.
Yeah. All right, well, before I get started, I do want to say, let us know in the comments if you guys do have any ideas for what you want us to rank next week. And yeah, it's pretty much all I got. So you want to take us away, Will? Number 10?
Yeah, so I feel like as I was doing this, I did this I feel like it got harder the farther down I went, with 10 being the hardest.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I really have like a ton of honorable mentions.
Mhm.
Like a lot of things that could have absolutely went 10th. Like definitely like the gap between like 9 and 10 is definitely a lot bigger than the gap. Well, actually, I shouldn't even say that, but this was the toughest one.
Mhm.
So I went with Pokemon.
All right.
So Pokemon is my favorite video game. Big Pokemon guy. Everybody who knows me knows that. Like that's my jam. The games are really good at the games. Really enjoy the games. That was my favorite growing up as a kid. And the cartoon was sick. You'd watch that in the mornings. I forget what channel they were on. I think they were on like Cartoon Network. I know that like they flip between like a couple, but I think it was. Like
I remember it on Cartoon Network growing up.
Yeah, and so I just remember being a kid. It was nothing was cooler than as a kid you were playing the games and then you saw the Pokemon that you had in the games on the cartoon.
Yeah,
and so that was just really cool. So for number 10, that's me.
All right.
If I was making like a top 10 list of life, you know what I mean? Like just my favorite things in general, Pokemon would definitely be much higher than 10.
Yeah. Yeah, because overall, like there's just like so many things, like considering the games. When you're a kid, you would always have the figures.
Yes.
Like
So, but just talking about just the cartoon, just talking about just the anime, it's number 10 for me.
All right. So yeah, I agree with you. It was harder to go from the bottom up, but I actually chose Tom and Jerry.
Ooh,
so yeah, I figured it's a bit of an interesting pick. There's not much to say about the show either, other than the fact that it's just always entertaining. It's Tom and Jerry. Like, you can pretty much I think you can always do anything while doing that show. I was doing my homework while watching Tom and Jerry. Like, I'm a big person where I need to have something in the background, like while I'm doing stuff.
Well, I feel like Tom and Jerry for me was always a big like stay home from school sick show.
I
feel like it was always on like Boomerang. Or, like,
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I have a lot of memories with that show at my grandma's house.
Okay.
Yeah, so that show is just. I guess there's not much really to say. It's just Tom and Jerry. Like it's a generic
what
show.
What else is there? Yeah, no, but it's a classic. That's a classic.
Yeah, it's simple and easy.
Excellent pick.
Yeah.
Excellent pick.
All right. That's pretty much all I got for that show. You want to go to 9?
Why don't you do 9?
Yeah. So my number 9 is actually Phineas and Ferb.
Oh, another great selection.
Yeah, another great selection. Yeah. So Phineas and Ferb to me, it's always just the type of show that, for me as a kid growing up, I watched it from like 4th grade to maybe 6th grade. I didn't watch it for too many years of my life, but it was a huge part of that.
I feel like era. we just miss Phineas and Ferb.
Really? No. I mean, I'm also a year younger than you, so
no. But I'm saying like I watched Phineas and Ferb too.
Yeah.
But like I feel like everyone like our generation kind of like stopped watching cartoons. We sort of like all grew out of that while Phineas and Ferb was at their height.
Yeah, that was like where everybody was starting to focus on like all the Nickelodeon type of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Phineas and Ferb was always like the type of show like over the summer. It just hit different, to say the least.
No, you're right. It did.
It did hit different. There's like this is when I like it's summer, baby. Like
You're right.
Like this is like the time where I'm just gonna binge watch that show all morning until I go to like the pound pool with my friends.
There would always be like 5 episodes on.
Yeah, that was like their thing. It's always on Disney XD.
Yes. My issue with Phineas and Ferb was always that, I loved the Perry the Platypus.
Yes.
Parts of the episode, but most of the time I could not give like a rat's tuchus what Phineas and Ferb were doing. That was always my issue. Like I did not care.
Yeah, and that was so unique too, between like a scientist and a platypus.
Yeah,
like I don't know how they could have possibly thought about that.
If that was the entire show, I probably would have loved that show even more.
Yeah, I mean, I always find it like funny too. Like I remember there's a specific episode that would get sixth grade me every single time, and that's the episode. I don't know if you remember, with like the plant, where like the plant like substituted for Perry that day or whatever, and the plant just like kicked his butt or whatever. Yeah, like the snail, like the same. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, they always just like said interesting ideas, unique.
No, they did.
Unique characters. Like my friend, his dad is a construction worker. He loved the show, watching it with his kids growing up. Is it just like,
God bless.
Yeah, God bless. I mean, it just like, I feel like it hit all audience, like parents and kids together.
No, Phineas and Ferb was a solid show.
Yeah, honestly. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So what do you got for 9?
So 9 for me, is a show that I feel is probably polar opposite to the themes of Phineas and Ferb.
All right.
For 9 for me is Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Ed, Edd and Eddy. Okay. I was never a fan, but tell me. I was never a fan.
I just always thought that it was so funny. As a kid, I just thought, I don't know, I just always liked the humor of it, especially as a kid. Like I always felt like I was watching like an adult show.
Yeah.
As like a kid.
Yeah, my friend said something similar. He always felt cool watching that show, because like it's just like not something that every kid will watch.
No.
Like for me, I was never like a big fan of it. It sounds a little lame, but I never liked their tongues. Their tongues creep me out, dude. Like different colors. I was like, yeah, I'm steering far away from this show. I
always thought there's a lot of mature humor like in that show.
Yeah.
And I just thought like it used to get like really like violent and stuff too. But like as a kid, I just thought it was like the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, for sure. Those types of shows always kind of entertain kids, especially today. I've noticed, to be honest. Even like I noticed that kids kids these days will go back to like shows from like early 2000s rather than watching their current cartoons.
Oh, because the cartoons are garbage.
They're garbage. Like, there's so many people that go back to like the old, like, like Scooby-Doo,
so
like all that type of stuff.
I mean, if the answer is yes, then we don't have to continue talking about this.
Yeah.
But I was never like the regular show. Okay. Or like Adventure Time. Were you into that?
I was into Regular Show.
All right, so
Regular Show was my jam. That's on my list. So I'll get into that.
Right, so we won't get into it, but Adventure Time, that had
I was never a fan of Adventure Time.
Following, I'm like, this stinks.
Yeah, I tried it. Like a lot of my friends growing up were into it. They're like, you got to try this show.
But I feel it came out when we were like in like junior high, or like I think it came out when I was like.
No, you're right. Junior high.
Grade. So maybe if I was a kid at the time, like it's like in like its target audience.
No, to be honest, I don't
know.
I can't even picture like kid Andrew liking that show. No, like let's say it came out maybe when I was in like elementary school even. Like it never really seemed like my thing. It wasn't my type of humor, I guess.
Humor or like anything. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was growing up, I remember just being into those shows with like stupid humor.
I get that. Yeah.
For the most part, at least. That's kind of just my stance on that.
I feel that.
So I'll start with 8.
Go ahead.
For me, I said the name actually when we were talking before, but Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
You had
a lot of classics.
Yeah.
But which Scooby-Doo are we talking about? Are we talking about the 60s Scooby-Doo? Are we talking about the Scooby-Doo when they're all kids? Are we talking about the one that came out like while we were kids?
I was referring more so to the one when we were kids. But
What's New Scooby-Doo?
What's New Scooby-Doo?
That one. That was the name of the show.
Yeah, okay, yeah. To be honest, I don't remember the name.
I like that show.
I used to just watch it in general.
Did it look old or did it look new?
Newer. So
okay, so it must have been that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I remember growing up. I drive to Virginia Beach every summer. It's like my family's trip. I remember that in like the backseat of the car, I'd always be watching that show on the ride up.
Yeah.
With my brothers, like that show just. The show always kept you thinking as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that like people don't take for granted for kids shows. Like it's good to keep kids like wondering in a show, like, who could be who could be the enemy? Like not the enemy.
The enemy could be anybody.
Yeah,
it's usually
yeah.
someone very close to you. That's what Scooby-Doo taught us.
Yeah,
Scooby-Doo taught us that we're the biggest monsters.
You know, I'd still be that kid. I'm like, I wonder who it is. Like, I have no idea. And they made it pretty obvious.
I used to be pretty good at guessing. Which you're right. In retrospect, they did make it obvious. But I always thought that I was pretty smart because I'd be like, it's definitely this guy right here selling them.
Yeah, complete opposite. I was horrible at guessing. I'd be shocked when I'd find them, and I'd find out, I'd be like, what? It was him the entire time, the museum guy? Like, you know, I don't know. I mean, and to this day, like, I love the Scooby-Doo memes. I love the Shaggy memes, and that's just something I want to say. Like, Scooby-Doo has so many great memes. That's like the main reason why I put it on this list. It's just like, it's not even like anything in particular that I could describe, but just like, there's always like a ton of Shaggy memes. If you follow a bunch of Instagram like meme pages, that, you know, that's just the main reason I was even able to remember Scooby-Doo in the first place. I was thinking back, like, what do I want to rank? And Scooby-Doo really did impact me as a kid growing up, so I figured let's just put it on the list.
I can tell.
Yeah. All right, what's your 8?
So number 8 for me, believe it or not, is actually a show that I got an attachment to from driving in the car.
All right.
So I remember there was one year that we had a car where SiriusXM had like television, like it was like SiriusXM cable, and they had like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, or whatever. But it wasn't like, it was weird. It wasn't like whatever they were showing on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network at home wasn't what they were showing in the car. Yeah, it was different. So growing up, the only show that they used to have on this, like, whatever you would call it, cable or I guess satellite in your car, was Camp Lazlo.
Okay.
So I used to watch that like repetitively, like nonstop in the car, and that ended up being one of my favorite.
Yeah. Okay,
shows,
I'm gonna
Camp
be completely
Lazlo.
real with you, dude. I told you our lists were gonna be different. I never even heard of that show. I'll be honest.
Gosh,
I'll be honest. I've never heard of it.
So much fun. It's about the Cartoon Network show about the monkey that goes to summer camp.
That sounds familiar.
Oh, I left off an.
Yeah, I was thinking it would kind of be like a Total Drama Island kind of thing, but
no,
I could be wrong. Yeah, no, not
Camp
at all.
Lazlo was great. Oh, if you know what I'm talking about, Camp Lazlo was great.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised I never heard of it, because I've at least heard of a fair amount of these shows. That does not ring a bell to me.
Oh, I love Camp
at all.
Lazlo.
Yeah. You know. Okay, so you want to just move on to 7? I think that my number 7, it was a pretty fair placement. This show has always been the type of show that I'd watch just whenever. Like, I always be like, it's on, let's just watch it. And that's Very Odd Parents.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
I just think that it's such a clever idea. Like, Butch Hartman's like the writer of that show, right? Is it Butch Hartman?
I think he created it.
He created it, yeah. So I think he has like a lot of great ideas in general. I'm pretty sure he also did Danny Phantom, if I remember correctly. Maybe the Jimmy Neutron. Not Jimmy Neutron. Well, he made like a lot of good shows, to say the least. And this was definitely one of his best ideas. Like, it's like, I've always found it pretty clever how, you know, like a kid could just like wish for anything he wanted. Granted, I always thought growing up his wishes were pretty dumb. Like, I was just like, I would just wish for this, and this, and I'll be set for life.
Yeah, I feel like every kid had that, like, you know.
Like, there were already 3 things that I think I would wish for, and that's it. Like, granted, it's unlimited wishes, so I guess, you know, I obviously find stuff, but like, I just feel like I would be smart enough to like set myself up after they left, because it was established that like after you reach a certain age, like you're gonna lose your fairy godparents. Yeah, and I feel like I would have set myself up with enough like money. Yeah, which he never did. He never had any intention to do. Yeah, that. He never wanted to. Was that against like the rules? Remember that like a rule book?
No,
was that against them?
Give yourself money.
I think you just couldn't. He couldn't wish for a girlfriend.
Isn't that what that one kid did? Remember that one kid
from
made himself rich?
Oh yeah. I can't remember the name.
I don't remember the names.
Yeah, Doug Dimmadome was lit.
Yes,
Doug Dimmadome.
Yes. I had Fairly Odd Parents on my list, but the more and more I kept adding things, I was like,
kind of got really kicked off.
I feel like it might be a little underappreciated for me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured I had to add it. Like, it's just like one of those shows that I think everybody watched growing up. Even if like you didn't watch it as much as the other kid.
No, I get that.
It's just like something that everybody's familiar with.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, it always had like its funny moments. They always had like humorous jokes for a kid. I mean, like it's I just think the show overall was great growing up.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So for me, for number 7, is another Nickelodeon show.
All right.
Hey Arnold.
Hey Arnold. Okay. All right. Yeah. I remember watching Hey Arnold when I think it was 5th grade. I really only watched it for like a short amount of time, but while watching it, I liked it. I mean, nothing I would ever, and it wouldn't ever come close to my list. It's not on my list, obviously, but
It'll never come
close to my list. But yeah, I mean, what do you have to say about Hey Arnold?
I just always loved that it was such like a chill, like relaxing show.
Yeah,
I feel like it was kind of just him, just like going around, like just like taking like I feel like the characters in that show, like Arnold was obviously the main character.
Yeah,
but I feel like everyone else like around Arnold, like Helga and everyone else, like just all like his friends and stuff. I just feel like it was just like it was a very like well written show. And I remember as a kid, like it isn't necessarily like the funniest show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, but I agree with you in the sense, like obviously I told you I really only watched it for a short amount of time in my childhood, but I always did find that to be like one of the chill shows. Like it's not, like I never really got bored of it while watching it. I kind of phased out of it more so. But there'll never be a moment where I'd be like, I'm not gonna watch this show. Like
I just feel like remember the episode where the guy is from Vietnam or whatever, and then like they reunite him with his daughter.
Yes, yeah, it sort of rings a bell. I don't remember much anymore about it, but
as a kid, I just be like, oh my god. I mean, that show was really good.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I feel like there's not really too much to say about it, but I feel like it was always consistently good enough for me, and it was always entertaining, and like you said, it was always chill, good vibes.
Yeah, good vibes.
Made number 7 for me.
All right. You want to say your number 6?
So number 6 for me is now this is where from 6 on is where we're getting into like my favorites.
All right.
Like 7, 8, 9, and 10 were like good shows in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
These to me were like the best shows.
These were like your highlights.
These were like my if I saw that these shows were on, I was stopping what I was doing as a kid and I was watching these shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 through 6 to me, I knew what these were gonna be. 7, 8, 9, 10 I had to think about.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember we were discussing that. I agree with the fact that maybe my 1 to 5 was super easy. But go on. What were you gonna say about your?
So 6 for me is Rugrats.
Okay, Rugrats.
So Rugrats, I really liked as a kid. Obviously Tommy Pickles.
Yeah,
Chucky
yes.
Finster. The movies, I love the movies.
Yes, yeah.
When they get lost in the woods and they have to fight the monkeys. When they go to Paris and they fight in like the giant robot suits.
Yeah.
When they had the crossover episode with the wild Thornberrys.
Yes.
That was just such, and that show was on forever.
Yeah, no, that show. How would you, if you had a guess, how would that even be? Like,
I think it came out in like the early 90s.
Yeah,
I know for a time it was the longest running like cartoon on Nickelodeon for a very long time, and then I think they canceled it, and now I think it's SpongeBob, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember for a while it was Rugrats.
Yeah, and I remember fun fact about Rugrats for me though. I was actually not allowed to watch it growing up.
No way.
But I would watch it with I would watch it at my friend's place and stuff like that.
Why?
So it wouldn't matter.
Why weren't you allowed to watch it?
My mom always thought that the show was just like, she always just thought it was not something I should be watching. I don't know why. It was just I never really minded either because I would just always watch it at my friend's house anyway. Yeah. But like, I never understood. I never even asked her about it. Like to this day. Yeah, no, I'm curious now. I never. When you said Rugrats, I was like, oh wait, I never even asked her that question. Like, yeah, overall, I did love Rugrats too growing up when I was able to watch it. Like, it's a great show for sure. So, my number 6 is a very generic pick, but like a lot of memes to it. Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z. This was actually my peak show, I feel like, in middle school. I watched this show, I think, the most out of any show in middle school, even like my number 1 show.
Okay.
this is the first real show that I felt like. Obviously, they had sagas in that show. They have so many episodes, so I think it never grew stale for me. It was always it was always action packed, and that's something that I always like in a show, in a movie. Even to this day, I love action packed movies, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Z just a lot, and also I love the lore behind like the extra stuff that they give you, like. Yeah, like, there's so many characters, and introducing you to the characters as the sagas went on. Even if you didn't know a certain character in one saga, you know him better in the next saga, and that's something that I always appreciated with the show going on. That I would be able to know all these like I could say like over 100 characters maybe that they had. There's a ton of characters, and I probably would know like most of them, if not all of them, by name when I watch that show. Like it's like. Not a lot of kids would say that, but like I was so obsessed. I always play the games. Like I had a game that they stopped selling when I got it, because this must have been made in like early 2000s, maybe when I was in elementary school. But for whatever reason, they stopped making it. But like my parents were able to get off of like
what game?
It's called Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
Yeah.
That game,
that's a famous game.
Yeah, they stopped making that game by the time like I was into the Dragon Ball Z. So maybe like sixth grade, I wanted that game.
I feel like I had that game.
Yeah, I was surprised that they weren't selling it at GameStop anymore, because at the time that was really the only place like I would get my games. Amazon either wasn't a thing or wasn't very big, and eBay.
Yeah.
That was actually where my parents did get it.
Okay.
And they got it for like a pretty cheap price from what I remember. But which I was surprised about, because if they were saying that the game was pretty much like discontinued, no more copies, I expected them.
Who said the game was discontinued?
Honestly, it's probably.
Are you sure they didn't just tell you that?
Maybe it was my friend who told me that, and I never did it.
I feel like that's a fairly popular game.
No, but I feel like I would know if it wasn't discontinued also, because I was like big into like video games growing up, so I think I'd also know. I'm not. Maybe I'm gonna have to look into this later on now, but
I feel like you've been duped.
Maybe. I mean, regardless, I got the game. I love the game. It was awesome. You had to play like the story mode. It was great. That's my number 6.
My favorite Dragon Ball Z video game was Raging Blast.
Raging Blast, yeah, that was when
that was my favorite.
Yeah, I also got my Xbox 360 that same year, and I got Raging Blast. That was also a really fun game. In my opinion, Budokai was a lot better, only because of the story mode. I feel like in Raging Blast there wasn't much of a story mode compared to Budokai.
I feel like what I really liked about Raging Blast was that you were able to like set stuff up. They had like the combo moves where like you could like call other people in and do like different like combos, and like you were able to like if you shot like a Kamehameha at somebody and then they shot something back at you, like you had like the little like
the little fight,
a little like beam thing going on. So yeah.
I mean, they had that in Budokai too.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always like Raging Blast more. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I ended up being more of an Xbox kid growing up than a Wii kid, but I had Budokai for the Wii, just to be clear on that. But I would still always choose to play that game over Raging Blast.
Gotcha.
I don't know. That's just kind of my stance on it. So number 5 for me. So this is a show that you said you actually weren't ever really into, but I love this show. This is like later on though, my middle school. This had even been like late 7th grade. This is like very late into my cartoon watching career. Obviously, like I kind of grew out of TV once. Not grew out, but like I kind of stopped watching TV in high school. So that's regular show for me.
Okay.
Regular show. My younger brother is actually the one who's like, said you should watch this show. The humor to me, that type of stupid humor that is in the show, like it's just so much random stuff happening. That's just the type of show that I could watch with like just always be entertained. I used to love Pops as a character. I don't know if you know who Pops is, but like he's like the guy with the big head.
Okay.
I was always into him. I like the way he talked and everything. He's just funny. And I just thought that, the finale, I didn't watch the finale actually, because this was in high school. In high school, that was where like I kind of grew out of watching like TV for the most part. But I learned that my friend was like, yo, they had a dark ending to this show. I was like, what is it? And they're like, the old guy dies or whatever. I'm like, what? And that's Pops.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? How could How could Cartoon Network even?
Did you watch the finale?
I had to when I was in high school. I was like, I need to see what happens.
That's crazy.
But
and he dies.
Yeah, he dies.
That's crazy.
I remember just like sitting in class, like I was like sitting next to this kid after he told me. I was like, what the heck? Like that's not something I would ever expect in like a children's show like that. Granted, they had their jokes. It's like one of those shows too that I almost wouldn't consider it a children's show, but it obviously is. But I don't know. I also found it cool that Mark Hamill voiced one of the characters, the guy who played Luke Skywalker.
Oh my god, Mark Hamill's in everything.
Everything. He's the Joker.
Yeah.
Obviously, Luke Skywalker. He does everything. That's what I got for 5.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I never got the appeal of regular show. I just never like all like that, like random. Like I mean, as you can tell from like my list, like
yeah, you're more of like
just
a
like the
straight shooter.
Like all just like the random like silly like.
That was my
kid.
humor, dude.
Yeah.
All
right. So number 5 for me, is a show that I remember I caught a lot of flack for liking.
All right.
As a kid growing up, but I always stood by it. And this is where it is. This is Powerpuff Girls.
Powerpuff Girls.
Oh,
all right.
I love Powerpuff Girls.
Never watched Powerpuff Girls, but go on.
My
I never watched it.
Oh my.
Never watched it.
God, this show was awesome. It was. Do you know what it's about?
Yeah, I mean, isn't it like 3 girls with superpowers?
Yes,
basically?
That's basically what it was. But I mean, they used to.
No, I knew what it was, but
used to kick the living, you know what, out of like people, and it would just be. I don't know. And I remember kids be like, "You want the Powerpuff Girls?" I'm like, "Yes," because the show was awesome.
No, and I respect you for being into that show. Because I remember the only reason why I never even got into it was because I was like, "This show is way too girly." I'm like,
it's really not.
I'm a man. Like saying it says like I'm a man.
Yeah.
I gotta watch manly shows. Like I'm not gonna watch girls kicking somebody's butt. Like that's not happening.
No, the show was so entertaining. It was so funny. Just like all the different like action like sequences that they would have and all like the different villains that they had and stuff and like the side characters that they had like the mayor who was like really funny, and then like they had like all just so many like different like villains and stuff. It was so good.
Awesome.
Powerpuff Girls to me is probably, I mean there's one more Cartoon Network cartoon on my list, but Powerpuff Girls is definitely top
3 for Cartoon Network.
Well, top 2 really.
Really? Okay. All right. So you want me to say my 4? You want to say your 4?
I'll say my 4
right.
because I kind of already teased it. So my 4 is the final Cartoon Network show, and that's Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
All right.
So I know you said not only
yeah.
have you not heard of it, you disliked it.
Yeah. The thing is, I heard about it. I want to say my freshman year of college. This was like my friends would like. We'd always like talk about shows that we were into when we were younger. My friend was like, Foster's, that show was so great. I'm like, what is that show?
No, that show was fantastic.
Never watched it. And
did you not watch Cartoon Network?
Wasn't a big Cartoon Network person.
Okay.
I think I might have.
That I'm getting.
I have some.
Besides regular show.
I have some Cartoon Network shows, I believe. I don't even remember what some of these shows were on, so maybe. But yeah, I mean, I remember watching Johnny Test, but I kicked that off my list.
Oh, Johnny Test.
Johnny Test was a good show, but I felt like I just kind of watched a show to watch it. So
what about Johnny Bravo?
Johnny Bravo I actually didn't watch, and I regret it.
Wow.
I regret watching Johnny Bravo, or not watching Johnny Bravo.
What about Dexter's Lab?
Dexter's Lab I did watch. To be honest, was never a big fan. As I said earlier in the show, I was always into those shows like the action-packed ones, and that was like Dragon Ball Z was my time.
Okay. I got you.
That was my type of show genre growing up. And yeah, I mean, I definitely regret not watching. I keep saying watching.
What about Courage the Cowardly Dog?
I always found that I watched that show.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like nobody liked it, but everyone watched it.
Oh yeah, no, I just watched that. If it was on, I would always watch it.
Yeah.
I always found it.
It would always be like
humorous.
one of like the last shows like before bed for me.
Yeah, it would always be like really late.
Yeah.
Like 11.
Oh, I don't know about 11. It used to be on like 9 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was always cool for me. Just because, like, again, that was like another show that like it wasn't like silly or random, and it wasn't like it reminded me a lot of like Hey Arnold.
Yeah.
Like it's not trying to like outwardly be funny. Even though there is like funny, it is a little bit less serious than Hey Arnold.
For sure.
But I don't know. I just always really liked the characters. I thought it was really cool. All the different like styles of like how like they drew everybody and everything.
Yeah, no, I always did appreciate the art style of that show.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll give you that. That was pretty good art. But it's actually something I do look into when I'm watching a show. Like I always, for example, another reason why I didn't like Ed, Edd n Eddy was because I didn't like the art style.
I got you.
Yeah. That's always like something that always stood out to me with shows. But my number 4 is probably not too much of a surprise to you. It's Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay.
That was, for those of you who don't know me very well, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It's always been a huge part of my life growing up. And I always had a lot of memories with that show too. My friend and I would always watch the finale to each season. It would always be on a Friday, from what I remember. And my mom would order pizza. We'd like play with the figures before the show. It's kind of like a pre-game kind of thing. Like we play with the figures, get hype, and then
you were 14.
Nah, this was very young.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. It was very young. It was like 10.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, I always liked how too in the show it answered the questions that was never answered in the movies themselves. Like it always gave you, like, it always showed you who like these Jedi were that you didn't really notice much in the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. Like nobody knew who, like, I'm just gonna say names: Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Ki-Adi-Mundi. Like nobody knew who these people were. And throughout the Clone Wars, that was always something that I really liked about the show, because it really just opened my mind to all these other Jedi, and that was something that I would always enjoy the most watching the show growing up.
I feel like I was never really able to get into it just because I remember I watched probably like the first couple of seasons, like when it just came out.
Yeah.
And I think I liked it, but I feel like it's hard to keep a show going for as long as they did when like we all know the ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that, but I more so kept into it because I knew that I was going to be getting answers to questions that were never answered to me.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, yeah.
That was really my main drive for watching the show. I think it's pretty cool now that I think they said they're doing a new season,
It's
right?
on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
now.
I think they just released
like
the new
weekly.
season.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. They're actually ending it, because I remember being disappointed that they didn't.
I mean,
have an ending.
I will be interested to see how they end it.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought,
like, are they going to end it with the start of?
I was hoping they'd do it with the start of Revenge of the Sith.
I feel like, but I almost wish that they wouldn't, because I feel like I almost wish that they would end it with Order 66.
Really?
Just because I feel like there was so many, like, there was so much stuff going on like during that. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
You're kind of just like focused on like Obi-Wan and like Anakin and all that. Like, I don't know.
So would you be saying then that if you wanted it to end at Order 66, would that mean that you want some of Revenge of the Sith to be an Attack of the Clones, hypothetically?
Yes.
So, like, when they're rescuing the Chancellor on the ship and whatnot?
Yes.
Okay. I agree.
I think that would be cool.
I think that would be cool.
Just from, like, different points of view, though.
Yeah. I mean...
Like, maybe, like, you don't have to show the exact scenes, like, line for line.
Yeah, because for me...
But, like, at least, like... I don't know. I just think it would kind of be lame if it ended with, like, the ships pulling up and they're like, oh, they're attacking. You know what I mean? Like, that would just be lame. Like, because like I feel like the whole crux of that show and like the whole thing, because Anakin's the main character of that show.
Yeah, it's his trilogy. It's his saga.
And I feel like
his story.
But like I'm saying, like the whole show has been like contingent on him like becoming evil and like why he's like getting like slowly like more and more evil.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just feel like to them end it on like almost like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But just lead directly into the movie wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's also hard to like. I think when I remember thinking about this later on in my life, but how they even like kept the Clone Wars going for so long. Because like you don't want to upset people, like with. I'm not trying to make this a Star Wars podcast here. I'll end the year after this, but like. Like obviously like with people hating the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, it just, I'm surprised that they're gonna that they decided to end the show, rather than just letting it go.
I feel you.
Especially with all the flack. But yeah, that's my number 4. You want to say your 3?
So my 3 is a show. I think this might be the first show that we both have on the list.
All right.
Which is Dragon Ball Z.
All right.
I was, Dragon Ball Z growing up. I think it was on. I think when I watched it, it was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Or it was on like Nicktoons.
Yeah, it was something like that.
That was great, man. I mean, listen, that was much watched television.
Yeah,
and especially like how you said how like each episode, it was one of like the few shows growing up where like each episode led into each other.
Yeah.
So it was like a series where you had like watch it, and like if you missed the last episode, like you weren't gonna know what was going on in this episode, but like
you still wouldn't know what's going on, and that's something that I like.
Nah, man, that was fun. There was some there's iconic moments from that show.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's just the show, kind of like piggybacking off of what I said before. Again, like it's just a show that I feel like every guy in middle school would watch that show. I just feel like it's just a show that everybody would always be talking about at my middle school growing up. I don't know.
No, absolutely.
That was a huge thing.
Yeah,
I remember my lunch table. Everybody would
like debates.
Yeah, like the conspiracy theories almost.
Were you an Abridged guy? Did you watch Abridged?
I did.
They just ended that. Did you hear?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, it's over.
Really?
They're not gonna do. They just ended the Cell Saga, but they're not gonna do Boo.
Yeah, I did watch Abridged. Not a ton of it, but I knew like the main gist of it and what their ideas for it were. I really stopped watching the show once GT happened. Like, with like after Majin Buu Saga. Yeah, that type of stuff.
No, but do you know what Abridged is?
Yeah,
it's a YouTube series?
Yeah.
Oh,
the YouTube Abridged series. Yeah, I watched that. I didn't really watch it that often, but my friends did introduce me to the YouTube series. But I did stop after GT. I just felt like after that they just kind of they're throwing stuff in the dumpster. Super. I heard Super was amazing, and to be honest, I really want to watch Super.
I didn't finish Super, because I originally started watching it with the sub, in Japanese. Yeah. I really wanted to wait for the dub.
Yeah.
And then they stopped to make the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I have to do this. And then I was watching the sub, and then like my subscription for like Crunchyroll or whatever like ran out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not gonna pay for this just to watch one show.
Yep.
So I'm like 75% of the way through it. But from what I've watched, I really like it.
Yeah, it's been recommended to me by so many people.
It's very good.
Yeah, I've been considering starting to watch it at some point.
It's very funny too.
Yeah,
like Dragon Ball Z wasn't like that funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so they added like a different type of humor to it.
There are some of scenes in this where I'm like, oh my god, like that was like really funny, like how like they did that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, my number 3 is actually I'm surprised that this hasn't popped up on your list yet. Maybe it will. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Okay.
I feel like that's a show that, for me, again, everybody watched that show, but not even that. I always just thought that the story of Avatar was just a great story with like no bad points to it. Like there's these shows where it's like, for example, Dragon Ball Z could have like these episodes where it's kind of slow.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Well, they would be like, we have. What was it on Namek, right?
Yeah,
5 minutes to get off this planet.
I think they were
3 episodes later.
They were on Namek forever, dude. that really got the show boring for me, but I got through it. But yeah, I mean, Avatar, there's never any like boring points to me. At least, obviously, there are filler episodes, and that's just kind of how every show like that is like. But I remember spending like the entire summer of maybe 5th grade watching it. Like that every morning before I got hung out with friends, that's what I would do. I would just love the show. I thought that was a great concept, a great idea. And once they released the Legend of Korra, I think it was called, like the new one with like the girl, the water bender.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I watched like the first 2 episodes. I was like, this is trash, and I didn't watch that. But I did like the show a lot.
Gotcha. I have some thoughts on Avatar, but
all right.
I will get to that later.
Okay. All right. The teaser. All right. So I'll say my 2. You already said it higher up in your list, but sure. I had to put it in one of my top 3, and that's Pokemon.
Okay.
So for me, Pokemon, again, one of those shows, I never got bored of it. It's Pokemon. It's so much fun. Like I used to play the games, like you said, growing up. I always just found it entertaining. I found it unique how they can make Pokemon into pretty much any creature, whatever. That was always cool to me. The typings, what would be like fire would be like grass or whatever. I gotta remember that type of stuff. And Yeah, I just always thought Pokemon was great, and that's something like
You remember all the typings?
maybe
What's Dragon Week 2?
Dragon,
End?
Fairy.
End?
Oh, wait, there's another one?
Yeah.
What is it?
Ice.
Really? Wait,
Yeah.
I didn't know Ice was.
Yeah.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
No way. I gotta look this up later. There's no way. I thought it was just Dragon and Fairy.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I gotta look into that one. There's no way, dude. All right. Well, unless you have anything else to add, that's my number 2.
I just feel like Pokemon would have absolutely been higher if like I just feel like the show itself got so trash.
Yeah.
Like after Diamond and Pearl, especially.
Yeah, Diamond and Pearl was like my peak. That's when I first started to get into Pokemon in general.
So
I was in like 2nd grade.
the show got so bad. Like I haven't watched Pokemon probably since that, like since Diamond and Pearl. I just remember I saw it on Cartoon Network one day, and it was like must have been when like Black and White was out, or maybe like X and Y.
Yeah.
And it was so bad. I mean, it's just like it's like was made for like babies.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I remember I stopped watching the show when Gen 5 came. Okay. So that was probably after Diamond and Pearl, because I watched it originally. Well, the first game I played was Diamond and Pearl, then I went back
and you
watched the show.
Okay. The show in the beginning is great.
Oh yeah,
when they're the first couple seasons,
like the Misty arcs and stuff like that.
And then when they go to the island, and then when he's with May,
yes, and Max,
May and Max,
kid.
yes, those are good. Like
that's a good group.
After that, it was
strange. And I always found it hilarious how Ash never won the Pokemon League until Alola. Yeah, I remember
they did that just for.
Just for the fact that they wanted people to continue to watch the show, but I just found it so funny how this kid would lose to everybody, and his goal was to win.
He's not good.
Yeah, honestly,
if you look at what his decision making,
no, it's terrible. I remember watching. Yeah, I always thought his Pikachu was dumb because it didn't want to evolve into a Raichu. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Don't you want to win?
Well, you know why they did that, right? You know why they made Pikachu the flagship character?
What is that?
Because there's no famous cartoon characters that are yellow at the time.
Really? I actually didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have chosen. So if they had Raichu as
and he's orange.
Yeah, but do you know any orange popular cartoon characters off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but I know that they went. But I don't know if orange.
And this was before SpongeBob. Is okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but SpongeBob is yellow.
But this isn't before the show. You know what I mean? They chose Pikachu as the flagship before they made the show, I think.
Okay.
That's at least what I heard.
All right.
I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. There's still there's still stuff to this day that I find out about the show through Twitter and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to put it in my top 3.
I feel that.
Top 3.
So now I'm at 2?
Yes, you are at 2.
So number 2 for me is the classic, which I'm assuming is your number 1.
Okay.
If it's not, we're gonna have an issue.
Okay.
It's SpongeBob SquarePants.
All right.
I just feel
you may have guessed right.
I just feel like SpongeBob is,
everybody loves SpongeBob.
It's the standard.
Everybody loves SpongeBob, especially in the first season before they had to really make it PG. I remember I don't know if you heard the rumor, the show was originally supposed to be on Adult Swim or whatever.
Yeah, well, it was originally
pitched as completely different, completely different storyline, and you can see that they're kind of aiming for that. Maybe the first season or first few episodes, whatever.
Well, the first season is very different than the rest of the show.
Oh yeah, because they had to change it up and make it a kids audience show because Nickelodeon bought it out, or was it always on Nickelodeon? I don't even.
Well, Nickelodeon picked it up. I think Nickelodeon said
it's got to be a kids show because they have kids. They're known for kids shows, obviously.
No,
only thing they're known for.
SpongeBob's so funny.
SpongeBob is so that's the show that look. I'll admit it. I still watch SpongeBob every now and then. SpongeBob is great.
There will be there's just some stuff in that show that is just so
funny. Yeah, I remember one of my favorite episodes was the crap. I love the Invisible Spray episode. That was a funny episode to me. What else? Krusty Krab Pizza, the Kelp Shake episode.
My dad and I used to always I remember as a kid we'd always reenact, he'd be like, "Is this your wallet?" It has your name in it.
Yeah.
So it must be your wallet. Makes sense to me. So take it. It's not my wallet.
Yeah, no, that was
so funny,
that was
man.
great. And also the original SpongeBob movie, that was my first grade humor. That was what made me cool in first grade.
Yeah.
I would always reenact everything in that movie, and people thought I was so cool for that. Like, no joke, dude.
I probably still think so.
Honestly, I mean, I actually still have a lot of friends from that first grade class, so maybe they maybe
well, there was only like 15 people in your school, so
I guess, yeah. So
Nah, man, that's listen, SpongeBob's great.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
is that your number one?
Yeah, it's my number one. So
yeah.
Before you go into your one, while we're on the topic of SpongeBob, just to close out a few more points, I never thought it was boring. The overall, it's that show that I don't think there's anybody in the world that cannot like it. I've never met anybody that doesn't like it.
It like defined our generation.
It defined that's us.
Like, there are some things that like some pieces of media or whatever that come out that define
the memes. The memes
generation.
are basically everything SpongeBob.
SpongeBob is one of the definitive pieces of media of our generation.
Definitely. And just everybody knows references too. It's like if you were just like say something out in the open, somebody would finish your sentence or whatever. Like it just that's just a show that again have you ever met anybody that doesn't like it? Like I most certainly have not. Like you have met somebody that doesn't like it?
I've met people who weren't allowed to watch it.
Well, yeah, I mean my parents didn't like me watching it, but they allowed it. Like that, it's different than Rugrats. Okay. Like they were cool.
You gotta get these answers.
Yeah, I know. Well, they were cool with me watching SpongeBob. It wasn't like if I had it on, they're like, "Oh, this stupid show again" or something like that. No. But they wouldn't tell me to turn it off.
My parents didn't think it was funny.
Rugrats, they would just turn off the TV and be like, watch something else. I don't know why. I gotta ask them later or something. That's.
Yeah. Like I just you just think of like some of the stuff.
Yeah,
like, I know. When he's trying to get into like the bar, and which is what it is. It's a bar, and the bouncer is like, yeah, I think you belong more down there, and it's like Weenie Hut Jr. like that's just so like.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Like, who even like thinks of that? Like.
Yeah, so for sure. Or like Free Balloon Day.
Yes. Yeah.
You stole my only food. Now I'm gonna starve. That was a meme in our friend group for like the longest time.
Yeah.
I don't know why. There could be like other things we could chose. We just found that so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that show's definitely a highlight. It has to be my number one because nothing beats SpongeBob in the end.
I got
you. I want to hear what beats SpongeBob for you though.
Well, so I don't know if this beats SpongeBob.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to make a list.
I feel as though this is the better show.
Okay.
And you've already said it.
Avatar.
Okay. I feel like Avatar, looking back on it, now that you grow up and you sort of get like an appreciation for what it was.
Yeah.
Avatar was insanely good.
Yeah, and that was introduced to me by a friend actually, so I'm lucky that friend even got me into it as much as obviously like I would have probably watched it anyway. But
yeah.
Growing up, I was kind of referred to shows rather than getting into shows. Dragon Ball Z is a good example of that. Mm-hmm. I was also referred to by a friend. But yeah, I mean, I just think that Avatar's. I always loved the story. That's the main reason why I had to have been in my top 3. But what's
I just feel like just from the beginning, like the way that like the characters evolve and the way that like just the way like the story develops and everything. I think it's just, and then from the way that it ends, like the ending is crazy.
Yeah, the ending is nuts.
I just feel like it was just so well done, and I feel like there's so many shows that don't start and end as strongly as Avatar did.
Yeah,
and I feel like really growing up, just from beginning to end, I think that was the best show growing up.
Yeah, and I remember I was thinking about this yesterday when I put it on my list. I was like, I never thought about this, but I was an Appa stan. Appa was my favorite character. No joke. Appa was my favorite character growing up. I don't know why. It's a weirdest thing for me to say.
When they stole Appa.
When they stole Appa, that was some that hit me hard.
That was crazy.
And but at the same time,
so many things in that show you're like, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And then they find Appa. Then who's the girl with the wind fans?
Oh yeah.
They find Appa in the woods. And then they get attacked.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I can't remember the name at the moment.
Yeah.
But that, like, you're talking about like the Apple Gang Stone episode, like that episode also did have one of the funniest things. And now, if you remember, like the mushrooms into the mushroom, that really got me.
And then there's just basically like an entire like half of a season where Aang was just like silent and like he didn't say anything to anybody.
No, wait, I never put
Remember
that together.
Yeah,
was that when he had the hair?
No, when they remember when he steals Appa and he just goes like snap.
Oh, that
Avatar state, and he just starts going off on people for the next like 5 episodes, like until they find him. He just like
he's a grump.
He is like, but not even like a grump. He is just like he's like pissed. Like
I mean, granted, it was like the only thing that he had to remember home from. You know, like
that's true.
Everything was
That'd be a nice connection.
Everybody was killed.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but
it's just him. Actually, Momo.
It's crazy. Momo too.
Yeah.
Momo too.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say something else, but before we stop talking about Avatar, what did you think of the Avatar movie?
It was terrible. It was
terrible. I mean,
apparently they're redoing it though.
There was a plan. I heard that, but there was also a plan that they wanted to do not just Book of Water, but Book of Earth and Book of Fire.
Well, that would have been the plan. Yeah.
That was the plan, but it just
it was terrible.
Crashed.
It was terrible. They couldn't even say the names right.
Yeah, Ong.
How do you?
Who else did they say wrong? I think they said one more.
How do you? I think they said Katara wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
But how do you
Sokka.
Sokka.
Yeah.
How do you make a movie out of a source material and you don't even pronounce the names right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not a single person watched the show. I mean, clearly not. If you see the movie,
they wanted the big bucks,
but not a single person watched the show and was like, "Hey, like that's not how you pronounce this."
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So before we end the show, you got any honorable mentions?
I have a ton.
Give me one or a few. I feel
like we talked about a lot, which is like Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Lab. Codename Kids Next Door was one I had on, but I ended up dropping. What else? Cat Dog.
The list never ends, you know. I mean, for me,
Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I agree with a lot of those too. For me, Naruto, okay. I like. Okay, let's be real. Naruto I like better than any of these other shows, just from story. But I didn't want to put it on my list because I didn't watch Naruto growing up. I watched Naruto throughout high school.
Okay.
And like the college.
It wasn't really a childhood show.
I found
Okay.
That I figured it was fair that I wasn't gonna put it on my list.
That's fair.
But actually no, SpongeBob beats everything.
So that's like me. So like a month ago, if we were just ranking cartoons, like a month ago I started BoJack Horseman.
Oh yeah, BoJack Horseman I need to start.
That to me,
I started like the first episode, but I never.
If we were just ranking cartoons, that to me would be like in like the top 3.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's nowhere near a kid's cartoon, so obviously.
Yeah, so you recommend? I
highly recommend.
Yeah, because I watched the first episode, but I just never kind of.
It is depressing.
Yeah,
as all heck.
I heard that.
There is like but there's just it just keeps on like you just like I gotta know how this ends. Like I gotta know
pretty
how
much
this finishes. There's just some stuff where like you watch it and you're just like, I hate my life.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's probably gonna be like the next show I watch. If not,
I highly recommend.
Wouldn't surprise me if I started it tonight, but we'll see. All right, well, that's gonna end episode 2 of the podcast. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome rest of your week, and you can catch us on Monday at 3 p.m. next week.